Good afternoon, Toronto.
Okay, 1 second. Wait, where is it?
I don't think we're live because we're getting.
Okay, 1 second. Yeah, there we go. All
I
right,
think we're
we're
live.
currently
Okay.
live from the iPost. Mike Luxak, Kevin Gallardo, we're all wearing our respective jerseys. Mine kind of looks like a clown costume here, trying to be the Spike Lee of Ryerson. But yeah, exactly. Definitely got a lot on the docket today, so let's see what we can do. Yeah, pretty sure we are.
Of course we are.
I can't find it.
Where?
I'm on our page.
No. Where should be up.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, technical
Okay,
difficulties. So let's start off with some March Madness Final Four. What do you guys think about what's going on over here? A lot of upsets so far, for sure.
A lot.
I would not have put these four. Well, not these four together in the Final Four. Definitely not. I just need to see who the Final Four is because I forget.
The Final Four are North Carolina, South Carolina, your good friends at Gonzaga, and of course, quack quack, the Ducks, Oregon.
Oregon is, man, the fact that they're in the Final Four
speaks volumes.
Yeah, I like they've got a very good team, but I didn't think they could have done what they've done so far and make the Final Four. But I'm kind of on that train right now, man. Like I think I think they can at least make the final.
Well, they do have to beat one of the final remaining one seeds, UNC. UNC readily beat UCLA last week. It was a wonderful game. Lonzo Ball, I feel, played well in the first half. For that second half, UNC definitely pulled away with dominant defense. Where's our good buddy that was here last week talking about defense does not win championships? Every single game last week was decided on defense.
Exactly. Any highlights specifically we should pull up?
Pull up the UCLA North Carolina game.
UCLA?
Yeah. Oregon Ducks, as Kevin said, very strong showing last week. Dylan Brooks and the rest of the team looked like they could score. They didn't have trouble scoring.
To me, it's like they play like such a team. It's so fun to watch. Yes.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's only 2 minutes too. But this was such a good
game.
That's
an older one, but yes.
Yeah, this is
Sweet 16 versus last week was Elite 8. We saw
this is where Kentucky just took it away. Right? They just second half just pulled away and did what they do, which is score. Right, these guys can hit shots. Look at this.
Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox, wonderful performances all throughout the tournament. Strong performing. We'll see if they continue to stay at that school or if they take the one and done train.
Declare.
Yeah, 43 points that game by De'Aaron Fox. Unbelievable showing by him. Able to take off the pressure off Malik Monk, who stepped up a little bit and the first half, a little bit towards the second half, but definitely De'Aaron Fox's game.
Like, the man scored 39 points. Like, that's insane. Look, like, he's just putting...
Is this guy going to be in the show next year? Like,
it depends if he declares. If he does, I feel he'll be at least in some of the earlier rounds, depending on what teams are looking for. He's not the same number 1, number 2 pick like you see on the other side of the ball with Lonzo Ball. Yeah. But Lonzo made a bold prediction recently saying he is definitely a better bar player than Markel, who plays at Washington.
I just want to see Lonzo in the NBA because of like all this talk. Ball is he's amazing. He's a very, very good player. Okay, but I want to see what happens when he actually like plays at the top level and you have like the best defenders in the world.
It's true. He claims right now that he is a better player than Markel Fultz of Washington. Markel Fultz averaging about 28 points, a couple rebounds, bunch of assists. And Lonzo Ball playing from the same position. Lonzo Ball has 2 inches on him at 6'6". Markel at 6'4".
He's a big man. Like he's a big man. at his position.
He is. They can
Lonzo
both get their
Ball
own
the craze
shot.
for NBA draft.
Yeah, so they
It was
lost.
to be expected, though.
He's a top 2
Like,
pick.
yeah.
Easily. As follows from Kentucky in the top 5 after that, you probably have De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, and probably Dennis Smith Jr. from NC State, which is crazy because you have a number of point guards that are talked about going in the first round, a lot of them, and we'll see where teams go. You have other guys in the league struggling right now, so we'll see what happens.
So where does this guy end up if he's going to the?
Well,
First
top 1,
round.
top 2, so that it just depends what the lottery.
Oh,
Yeah.
true.
It's all about the lottery, right? So
Milwaukee Bucks.
So, no, Milwaukee doesn't have that high
Bucks,
of a...
yeah, Bucks won't. It'll be either like L.A.,
Or
Brooklyn, Boston.
Boston has Brooklyn's number 1 pick. Or
Oh, true.
one of the top 2 picks.
They're like second. Now
Oh,
anyways, right?
from that.
Yeah, so now you
my
see
God.
Brooklyn has this many pieces to trade, and look how strong the draft is. Brooklyn can literally dictate where their team goes. And defense. Kentucky was able to play defense this time against UCLA. Last game against UNC and Kentucky, they went 100 defense this time against UCLA. Last game against UNC and Kentucky, they went 100 this time against UCLA. Last game against UNC and Kentucky, they went 100 this time against UCLA. Last game against UNC and Kentucky, they went 100 this time against UCLA. Last game against UNC and Kentucky, they went 100 this time against UCLA. Last game against UNC and Kentucky. We apologize. Sitting here at the Ryerson Eye Boost, right across from Dundas and Young Square. Beautiful, beautiful venue. Nice to see outside the window, see all of Ryerson and the nice people, pedestrians walking around. But
Second.
if you do hear us, shout us to UNC and Roy Williams. I had him going to the finals. I still do. If Roy Williams,
like
what a coach. I think I honestly, watching his team play this year and how the other teams are playing, now that they're figuring out defense, I see UNC going deep. I hope they do well. They're a strong team. But it's going to be a tough match. On the other side of the board, they have Oregon. But on the other side of the slate right now, you have Gonzaga and South Carolina. Both teams stifling defense, play very different defense with a lot of traps. But my question is, with their traps and arm raised in the verticality position that Trevor Karnowski is known for, but more importantly South Carolina and their trap defense, can Karnowski pass out of that and play the style of basketball they've been playing, which seems like the crux that South Carolina can fall to?
Well, I feel like that's the question, right? It's whether they can just pass the ball out of that, right? And I think it's harder to say. This game, I don't know who to call winning. I feel like this is a harder call than on the other side because it's all about defense, right? Like which team shuts down the other one more.
So if you had to pick final
If I had to pick,
championship,
I've been a fan of Gonzaga the entire road, right? I think they're just. If I were to pick them just because I've liked the way they played, but I don't think they faced a team with almost as good of defense as they do, right? And it's
but my argument there is they just beat a strong West Virginia team 2 rounds ago, and Xavier played a hell of a game, but they're able to play their style of basketball inside out, finding that big man kicking out.
Exactly.
Now Goss is able to hit a lot of shots.
Yeah.
Williams went off last game against Xavier, and they really outperformed them. I can see Gonzaga playing great offense, number 1 offense in the country, and defense strength. They're top 5 in both. They have posted, a 34-1 record so far. First Final Four for them. First Final Four with South Carolina. Really interested in what to do, what to see. But a strong group of seniors coming out of South Carolina. Great team play. And they really play their style of basketball well.
Exactly.
And they're able to score and beat teams that nobody thought they could beat. 77?
So who do you have coming out then?
I obviously lost my bracket in the East. Obviously, didn't have South Carolina going that far. Had Florida. But at the same time, I would like to see UNC in the final and Gonzaga. But these are going to be some interesting matchups to say the least, and I'm thrilled to watch both this
Yeah,
Saturday.
I think both games are going to be crazy. I think like both teams have opportunities to win. I think you can make cases for both sides. It's going to be a fun Saturday for sure because like these guys are laying it all out, right? Like every year, of course.
It's the
but
biggest thing that's happened to them
It's
so far.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like these games. Every game is do or die, right? So you're watching these guys just.
3 of these teams, it's their first Final Four,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
I'm happy to see one of these teams move on. Great history for all these teams. Mark Few, first Final Four. Everyone's got to stop saying he got the monkey off his back. It was never a monkey. Gonzaga was never a top team like that, but now they are, and you recognize it. 3 transfers, Przemek Karnowski in his 5th year. This team, I feel, is a shoe-in for that final spot.
Okay.
Tune in this Saturday. We'll be live tweeting, posting on our BetShare through our accounts. Please join the conversation.
Okay, moving on to the Raptors. I mean, we made the playoffs. How far do you
Yeah,
think
I
we're
think
going to
that
go?
was-
Do you think it's a good look for us, for the history?
In terms of playoffs, it's all about seeding, and it's less about where Toronto is seated and more about where the top 4 is seated. I think, like, it's will Boston stay number 1? Will Cleveland stay number 2? It's all dependent on that because I think Toronto's best path, anyone's best path in the East, is to avoid Cleveland for as long as you can, right?
Well, based on last night, Boston lost their
Yeah.
match against the Milwaukee 101-103, and
Yeah.
Cleveland was able to win recently. So technically, they are
What-
even in game differential, but winning percentage, Cavs edging them out
Takes
for
it,
that
yeah.
first place. But there's still a lot of season to be played,
Yeah.
and the Cavs have been trending down recently. Their defensive woes have been the major struggle.
It's been like, it's been. I never thought they would have dropped this hard, right? Because the Cavs, it looks like they just don't play defense, right? They're like teams are putting up 120 easily, right? It's not even like it doesn't look like they're contesting every possession, right? It's like, okay, we're gonna let you hit 120, well, we hit more than you, right? And I don't understand really what's happening because no one's injured. Like, Kevin Love's back. Like, it's
People are playing a little slower.
Yeah,
Towards the
it's-
end, Kyrie Irving trying to take a little blame on it himself.
Yeah.
People are asking if it's effort or the personnel. I don't think it's personnel. They have Kevin Love. They have Kyrie at the point to really stop people. John Wall took that call out personally by a number of former NBA players that he needs to be that number one
Yeah.
guy on the floor.
shut down.
Shut down point guard defender,
Play both
showing the
ways.
rest of the guys
Exactly,
behind him
exactly.
that this is how you play out. And I want to see Kyrie respond after his comments recently, but I don't think Larry Sanders is the solution to that. A little bit of fiction there. We'll see how he does in the D-League. He's played a few performances, but very small, minimal minutes. But at the same time, there needs to be effort and a little bit more cohesion from the unit down low. Their offense, there's no question there. The Cavs are still the team to beat, but right now, they look beatable.
For sure. I think like whoever they get in the second round playing like this, I think like it's a very real possibility that the Cavs could lose in the second round. I'm not saying they would. I'm saying in the past few years, like it was no question whether the Cavs make the East Final or the finals anyways. It wasn't a question.
So
Right.
right now in the standings, we have the Cavs and Boston fighting for that 1-2 spot. After them, we have a surging Washington
Yeah.
team taking out the Raptors' third spot, now climbing in there, 2 games behind, and the Raptors
Yeah.
sitting in 4th spot, 3 games behind. After that, we have a pretty big jump to
Yeah.
9 games behind, both Atlanta and Milwaukee tied. Milwaukee probably one of my favorite teams to watch right now. Long defense, Giannis Antetokounmpo playing well. Jabari Parker's out and they're still doing it well.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Jason Kidd, to Brogdon playing well as a rookie. And to round out there, we have Miami and Indiana both tied at 11 wins.
I think that bottom is so like the Pacers. I don't think look very good. Like they're not the team they once were. Right, they're not that team that took Toronto to, I think it was 7 last year, right?
Yeah. So they just lost last night to Memphis, 97-110. They waived Rodney Stuckey, a former made his tour as a traveling player.
They
But
signed Lance Stevenson.
They signed Lance Stevenson. They brought him back 3 years. I'm happy for Lance Stevenson. I think he deserved a place to play. He plays great defense. He brings energy, whether it's verbal or non-verbal. Lance Stevenson brings energy to the floor.
I thought when he left Indiana, I thought he should have never left. because I thought
He had that offer from Charlotte. I think he turned down.
Yeah, exactly. I thought what they all did together, like Hibbert, they had Hill at that time. Yeah, they had that team, right? I thought he fit very well, and every time he's moved, I don't know, he's moved like 4 times, I think, since, or he's signed like 10-day contracts.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to play
10-day contracts.
Well, that's what you get signed to.
that's-
If you sign 2 or 3, then the team has to either waive you or sign you permanently after the end of that point. It's this interim after All-Star break. We get a lot of injuries, a lot of guys tired, need rest, and you pick up these guys that have been playing great in the D League or were playing around and are finally back in shape. Like Larry Sanders got picked up and he got signed full time, but he's one of those guys that would typically sign that 10-day contract trying to get back on a team roster.
Exactly.
Let's see, Larry Sanders.
Larry Sanders is playing for the D League right now.
Find up some NBA highlights over here.
So former
triple-double, 10 points.
But he's been out for
a few years.
For 2 years, I think.
I'm
he
honestly
hasn't played.
pleased with what he did. He was depressed, didn't enjoy basketball anymore.
Really?
Was smoking and doing other things. Took his time away from the NBA. Figured himself out, figured what he wanted to do, and is now making his own conscious decision, come back and play in shape. You saw his summer videos. He's got to get in basketball shape, which is a little different.
If the Cavs are gonna call, like,
He answered the phone call.
That's a good team.
But
now, you mentioned basketball shape. What exactly does that mean? Is there a specific kind of training?
So you can be in shape, but doesn't mean you can play basketball all the time. Your ankles have to be ready, your knees have to be ready, but more importantly, you have to have the defensive mindset and the chemistry to play with somebody else. This is why I can go play pickup with one buddy versus playing with a brand new team, and me and that one buddy have more cohesion, able to score more points, more assists, because I know innately what his tendencies are, where he likes it, where he likes the ball, and at the same time, more importantly, for defensive positioning, which is the biggest issue for the Cavs right now. They don't have any cohesion, does it look like, on defense. Sometimes it looks like James Harden was playing defense on that team, but he's playing on a different team. It is what it is. Hopefully Cavs can figure it out. Still the team to beat, but...
Yeah, I think he's a good addition, right? Like, the man can play D when he was in the league. So there's a reason why he got picked up. I don't think, as you said, I don't think he's a Band-Aid or like,
a solution.
Yeah, a solution. Like, it's the team has to buy in, right? It's not like you just insert Larry Sanders and
they're a much older team. I recently compared them in conversations with the Boston Celtics that won a championship not too long ago with the Big Three. But you have these players coming in like Deron Williams, Kyle Korver. By no means are a lot of these players on that roster young. Are they able to play the same defense they played for when they played in Brooklyn or in Atlanta for a few respective players? But that's how the Eastern Conference looks. For me, more interestingly enough, it is not how Miami, Indiana, and Chicago in that 9 seed roll out the East, but the West. The West right now has 3 teams in the playoffs with over 50 wins, including Golden State with 60 wins. The East does not have a single 50-team win. 50-win team. They have Boston closest with 48. And in the top 4 rounding it with 45 wins. But none of them have broken that barrier. You look at the flip side in the West, you have Golden State, number 1, obviously. San Antonio creeping up number 2 or 3.5 games back. And then again, another big jump, 9.5 games back. Houston, definitely not no pushover in the comparison that you see in the East with the next big jump with Milwaukee. Milwaukee's still a strong team, can compete against anyone. Houston, same thing. But after that, you have a number of teams. Utah, the Clippers, who just slid down to the 5th spot, 16.5 games back to the 1st place.
I think the Clippers are sort of like a disappointment, I think, this year. Although they're still 5, so it's not like they're battling for a playoff spot or something. But
injuries, team cohesion, the rumors of seeing their coach and exec, Doc Rivers, leave.
Let's play a little game over here. Pick out the NBA playoffs, like who's going to be where, and how the bracket's going to go. You can do it on the whiteboard behind too.
Okay, so let's do East, I guess.
All right, we'll start with East on this side. And at the same time, because of the West, the differential right now, I'll try and include the West because it's a little easier pick.
Yeah.
We'll start from over here. We obviously have Golden State Warriors picking up against that 8th seed, who right now is one of the most interesting games yesterday. You had Portland and the Nuggets play. Portland coming back with Yusuf Nurkic with a personal vendetta. Yeah. The words he spoke after the post-game conference, wishing his beautiful teammates a wonderful summer, as Portland pushed out Denver Nuggets out of the 8th spot, took over the 8th spot themselves with 24.5 games back. Denver now 25.5 games back, but Portland definitely looks like the stronger team right now.
I'm a fan of Portland, really, of their backcourt. Nurkic just like finally sort of being given that opportunity to do what he does, which he showed signs of doing this on Denver. Like he really never got the minutes. He didn't get the support. So
after they decided to go to Jokic, I'm pleased to see Nurkic play somewhere.
Yeah.
Highest points ever for him, career high 30 points last night, dominating on the boards, able to get more than a couple blocks a game now because of defensive positioning. Understand that defense. That's that big thing we talked about that you see out of Larry Sanders, but it has to be within the team. And Yusuf, big thing, able to play that pick and roll with either CJ McCollum or Damian Lillard, slide to the rim and dunk it. He was dunking all over his former team. The other player who was made in that trade, what's his name, the brother? Who plays now on Denver Nuggets? Blonde hair, what's his name?
Yeah, I know.
He went 0 for 4.
Of them.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them in the league.
He went 0 for 4. I see this being a very interesting matchup. Portland, who took a lot of teams into late, tight games. Damian Lillard able to hit shots, but now they have that inside presence I feel they were missing. Very interesting matchup. I see Golden State winning, but at the same time...
Plumlee.
Yes, Mason Plumlee. But I still see Portland putting up an effort there. So that's that big matchup. I don't see Memphis sliding down to that 8th spot.
Yeah.
Definitely see Portland holding on there. So following up, as we have that 8th spot and the 2nd spot, which are going to be down here, but we're going to write them in order, just a little easier for us today. Yeah. We have the Spurs, of course, going to remain in that spot. This team is at 61 wins, and the Spurs currently at 57. So I don't see a big change there. Not a lot of games left in the season. Only about 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
So they're going to take on that 7th spot, which is going to be Memphis. So the Grizzlies, Gasol, they're not the same defensive team they were before. They're struggling to win against mediocre teams.
Yeah. Randolph is coming off the bench now. Conley isn't really...
He's another strongest
what
defensive
he's
presence
doing.
that used to be.
Exactly. He's not. I don't think his contract really justifies what he's doing right now. So I think they're a good 7th seed, but that's really they're not going to take down the Spurs.
So I think we both have the Spurs moving on from there. If these matchups stay the same, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So continuing on, we have the 6th seed, which I feel may change. The 6th and 5th seed right now, we have, of course.
This would be Houston University.
Yeah, this is going to be... I'm actually not even going to write the team name. I'm going to write Westbrook. Because this is Westbrook against whoever they put up against them. The other 5th seed right now is the LA Clippers. The LA Clippers, as we discussed earlier, are in some serious team woes. And Westbrook and his team are only a game and a half. A game, actually. They're at 16. They're at 17 and a half. And you have LA Clippers at 16 and a half. So I could definitely see them catching up.
Pull up some Russell Westbrook highlights over here.
Yes. So
every game is a highlight. Yeah. The man, he's the first
Who's
player.
This Coach Goodwin.
The first player ever to put up a triple double, hitting 50 points.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Like we're watching history, right? It's like every game is like on watch for something historic.
He's put up more historic triple-double games this year than anyone else. He scored. He went perfectly in the line, perfectly in the field to win the game. He literally scored 57 points last night, including an unbelievable.
I think it was the pull-up, right?
Pull-up 3 to tie the game and force overtime. I hope our friend Sally here, technical analyst, can find that game winner by
which game?
Russell Westbrook last night or the night before.
It was this, yeah. It was against the Magic, yeah.
Was this the game?
Yeah, this is it. This is
that's the incredible game. And
so ahead of the game, bro.
Towards the end of the game, they're down by 3. Westbrook up the court, a good 18.
He does it like no one else on his team matters because it's him running the ball up and him taking the shot. Like
he got the rebound, he ran the floor, 3/4 court of the floor, and then 2 defenders face. He is able to hit the 3-pointer. And honestly, just phenomenal performance by that man to beat a struggling Orlando team.
To I don't know 7 minutes or something.
So based off that
overtime.
We have this 5-6 in my opinion flipping. I see Westbrook and OKC
overcoming the Clippers.
Yeah, Clippers slide down to 6, and OKC is going to take that 5th spot.
Now, like me coming out of that, I think we're going to see Westbrook hit another level in the playoffs. I think he's hungry as any player in this league. right? The man wants to do it. The man wants to do it himself, which is good and bad, but he's doing it. He's doing it, right? So and with all the trouble LA's having right now with team cohesion, it's just not a good situation right now. I don't see them coming out.
So I see Houston playing the Clippers here. Very, very easy matchup, I feel, for Houston. The Clippers are struggling. Man-to-man, whatever you want to play against the Clippers, Houston has them outbeat. Mr. Harden, I believe, taking them to 50 wins this year, again with Mike D'Antoni as the coach. First time, I want to say, bringing up coaches discussion later on for awards. But Houston takes LA. We have Houston moving on for the first round and then taking that.
For sure.
So finally, with the OKC matchup, you see OKC against the 4, which is the Jazz. I feel this is the best matchup of this first round coming out of the West.
Me too.
I have no idea who wins this. Both teams phenomenal down the stretch.
I'm a big fan of Gordon Hayward. I love the way the man plays. I think they're... Yeah, exactly.
I see this happening as the only fact for sure. I see Rudy Gobert playing so much hard defense. Everyone tries to put him on a poster, and he's going to make one. And I love a defensive player who does not mind being a poster because he'd rather protect that rim.
Exactly.
Shout out to this matchup, best matchup that's going to happen in that first round. This is where the West looks like in the playoffs right now. This is our pick. This is our playoff.
What about the East?
So East, I think, is a little bit more up in the air than the West. Right, but so we'll go 1. See, even one seed, like it's a little bit. I'm gonna put the Cavs because I think they can.
They have a few games remaining.
Here, pass that.
There you go. They're a 2-game losing streak. I see that changing. They're gonna get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah. Again, these guys are all vets. Most guys are all vets, and you have Love, Irving, and James. Right. These guys know how to win. Know what's expected of them. I would expect them to sort of pick it up.
They play the Bulls this evening, I believe.
Bulls, but wait, what's the? Okay, so yeah, it's not a heavy end to the season. It's the Bulls.
They're surprisingly 0-3 against the Bulls this season.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler's had their number for some reason. I don't know if it's because they rest players or they take it a little easier on our good boy Fred Hoiberg. But they are playing the Bulls this evening at 8 p.m. Continuing on, they only have the 76ers, Pacers, Magic, Boston, and Atlanta 2 more times before they wrap up with Miami and the Raptors. So I see...
So here, Cavs, I think the 8th seed will be the Pacers. I think I don't see them sort of moving up. I see that Heat are red hot right now. I don't think they'll drop. The Bucks, the same thing. Like
but at the same time, you don't see Chicago trying to outcompete the Pacers for that final spot or Miami. The Miami is a little hot right now.
I think it's such a tough call, but I still think the Pacers. 10 minutes left.
No, 15, whatever.
I still think the Pacers hold on to what they've got. What do you think?
I definitely agree there. The Pacers, Paul George got figured out.
Yeah.
It's a big year for free agency. He's a free agent into the summer. I think he's going to take that a little personally, hoping to stay in the playoffs and play it decently well. But I don't see that series going deep, and I see Cavs easily able to dominate.
Yeah.
I do see Paul George as a flight risk from Indiana. They're in that in between the rebuild or
it's such an awkward kind of spot. Like, do we start over? Do we sort of build off of?
And it goes for the same for the Chicago. Chicago has Jimmy Butler with a free agency in next year in 2019 with a player option, and I see him being a flight risk as well.
For sure.
Whether they rebuild or build around him.
D Wade is not younger again. He's not getting any younger, so it's sort of do they try to start over again or do they go all in with Jimmy Butler?
So my big thing is I see one of those two players with a big pull coming out of Boston as being one of those key markets that one of these players would gravitate to.
Yeah.
So we have Boston at the number 2 seed.
Yeah,
Definitely watch them out for next year as they do have one of the top lottery draft picks. Unbelievable time by their front office, Ainge, to get those lottery picks and be in a position to keep being a success and pulling in players like possibly a Jimmy Butler or Paul George, and we'll see what happens.
Now, the 7th seed, I think it's hard to call because the the 5, 6, 7 are sort of all right there. They could.
They're within a few games,
Yeah.
and I believe Miami plays the Cavs. They do play Milwaukee one more time. Atlanta has 2 games against the Cavs, so it's definitely interesting to see what happens. But right now, Miami is hot.
Yeah.
They're playing well. They're coached well. But I don't know if they're able to push past Milwaukee, who I feel is the stronger team out of all 4 of those, including Atlanta. And I see Atlanta possibly losing at least 2 more games because they do have a Cavs matchup and a tougher schedule.
So I think I'm still going to put Miami here. I think they stay 7. What do you think?
I think Miami does stay in that 7 spot. They're playing well.
Here I've got the Celtics coming out. I think Isaiah Thomas is. I think he'll cook this series. As good as Miami has been,
Goran Dragic has shown playing well, but I don't think he can guard Isaiah, some of the other guards in the league. And I see Boston pulling up the top.
It's going to be a very guard-centric series, whichever one sort of goes off more, I think. And I think Boston with Isaiah Thomas will come out of it. Okay, the 3 and 4 seed.
3-6
or 3-6 seed. This one, it's hard. I think it's hard to say whether the Raptors will.
Will they take that spot back from Washington?
Yeah.
They're only a game behind. Washington has a very different schedule.
We got destroyed by them like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Swept.
So no, This is for placing. Those are different teams for standings, right?
Those
So
are
this year,
different teams,
luckily, because we're so close, I don't think we're going to play them in that first round.
Yeah.
I do think it's going to be the Raptors in that 3rd seed. They're going to claim that. Washington may have the Southeast Conference, but at the same time, they have quite a few games remaining on their schedule. They've been playing up and down, but right now with John Wall taking his defense seriously,
yeah. Now I think 3 versus 6. Do the Bucks hold it, or do they take over Atlanta?
shout out to
The Washington.
John Wall, the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
Thank you for his jersey, beautiful jersey, and shout out to my boy Gortat one more time. A great Polish friend of mine. Wonderful, wonderful player. So remaining on their schedule, they have Golden State. They have a couple easier games, but they do have Miami 2 more times, and the Jazz. So definitely watch that game on Tuesday, April 4th. They're going to play. Tuesday, April 2nd. They play the Golden State Warriors. Definitely see how that game goes. And tomorrow night they play the Jazz. After losing a high-scoring game against the Clippers, 133-124. That is high-scoring game for the Clippers and Wizards. Wall finishing with 41 points, 8 assists. Wonderful game.
Now, okay, so if we're gonna talk about 3 and 6, I think that the Bucks hold the 6th seed. It's hard to call because I like the Bucks moving up more than the Hawks going down, right? I think the Bucks are a better team than Atlanta and can sort of come up.
Is it better for Toronto to play?
Would
you rather have Toronto play?
I would personally, the Raptors.
I would take the Hawks.
The Raptors are going to play the Hawks, in my opinion. The Hawks have 2 more games against the Cavs. They do still have to play Boston.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a tough schedule.
Yeah, and they finish off the season.
Seals it.
Yeah, and they finish off the season with 1 more game against the Pacers. With 2 games against the Cavs, a game against Boston, and this Saturday they are playing the Bulls. I see the Hawks slipping down on that 6th seed, and the Raptors get a little bit of an easier matchup, in my opinion.
And
playing DeMarc Harris' former team.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this series will be very important because Lowry is going to be back for this.
Oh,
right. And
he's playing against Dennis Schroeder up top.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he's going to need this series to sort of wake up, sort of come back into form, and also to play with Ibaka and PJ Tucker, which he hasn't done in his career yet. They have not played together yet. So I think it's going to be a great sort of. I don't want to call it
it's an indicator for how they're going to
exactly.
play. I think it's a good team cohesive.
Exactly.
Hopefully that series goes to a 6th game. I don't see it for sure going there, but I would love to. But lastly, I just got to give a shout out one more time to Corey Joseph, who I definitely think can shut down Dennis Schroeder. Playing phenomenal Dennis Schroeder, great player coming out of Germany. I think it was a smart move to release Teague and see Schroeder as a new point guard, but we'll see how that goes. And because of that call, we do have the Wizards,
Wizards
and
facing
of course Milwaukee facing. I think that is another great matchup. Probably my favorite matchup of the series in the East. Two strong teams, young players, both ends. You can have Giannis Antetokounmpo playing the point and playing against John Wall. You can have Brogdon out there.
This is going to be so exciting. This matchup it's going to be like just player against player, sort of like, okay, who's gonna do it for their team?
And I'm gonna be honest with the bench depth and the style of basketball that the Wizards have been playing and their consistency in the playoffs, regardless of last year what happened. I personally have the Wiz coming out.
I have the Wizard coming out too.
Shout out to the Bucks again, making the playoffs without having Jabari Parker and a few more pieces there. I see them struggling, but I see this series possibly going to 6 or 7. Still have the Wiz coming out, and there's our first round matchup. This is what we're see the playoffs going, and this is what we see. If you have any questions or input, we'd love to hear it at BetShare on Facebook, at BetShare on Twitter. Give us a call. Let us know what you think. This is the West and East, and this is where we see the remainder of the series, the season playing out. Right now, you have about 7 games left. So 7 games left in the series, the season before the playoffs start. Just over off in April, just after March Madness finishes.
And again, here, if we're gonna focus on Toronto, it's a good thing to stay at third, and for the Cavs to stay at first, because it's a long road to face the Cavs, right? If we're gonna win this series, we're gonna face Boston, and the Cavs will face Washington, and it's all. I think Boston is an easier team to face than the Cavs, but I think this Final Four, it's
really interesting to me. I see any team being able to win.
Exactly.
Like I said, if Cavs continue with the defensive woes, Boston's been showing that they can compete with them. The Raptors have shown they can compete with them, and the Wizards have shown they can compete with all those teams. They have the players. They have the depth. It'd be very interesting to see what happens. Out of the West, after this point, I really can't make any too many calls. I see whoever OKC and Jazz win, they probably lose the next round, whether against the Spurs or Houston. But at the same time, very interesting to see how Golden State plays in that second round. Once things get a little bit more challenging, a lot more bench depth at teams like the Spurs.
But Durant is back,
Want some water?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Last topic I want to cover today before we go. Now that we have a playoff picture understood from the West and East, I want to talk about one last thing, and that is the biggest topic on everyone's mind before the playoffs is awards. This year, the NBA is doing an award show. It's going to come in June, I believe. And with their award show, they're going to try and keep their picks, and whether it's MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and a few others that they haven't announced. I assume they're going to bring out an award, again, like the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, where it's a player on and off the court who does the community service, who reaches out, who does a lot of great things. Players like Dwight Howard pop up, other players here in Toronto. But with these 3 awards, we have a few candidates are topping out here. We have Harden, Westbrook, and for some people, the two-way player, Kawhi Leonard. Last night, Kawhi Leonard had a weaker performance in the second half against Golden State Warriors to start off with a 23-3 run, a 22-point lead in the first half, but they let it slip and lost to Golden State Warriors. It was a well-played game. These are the top 2 players right now for MVP. Kawhi Leonard, being hands down the best two-way player in the league, is, I believe, a shoo-in for the Defensive Player of the Year award.
I agree.
The other people that should be considered and are considered are obviously our man right here, Rudy Gobert, and Draymond Green, who I don't feel has done enough to deserve this award. Yes, Golden State's at 61 wins. Was it because of your defense? Defense has been a struggle for Golden State at times. But for me, it is down to Kawhi or Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert's blocks, his presence down there has brought the Jazz to that, as we hopefully see, 4th seed. And they've been playing phenomenal. So definitely interesting awards. The closest, I think, award this year, outside of player MVP, which is a tight race, is Coach of the Year. I'm not going to name my top 3. We're going to go to Kevin first. Kevin, who do you feel may win Coach of the Year?
I think what I think Houston, what they've done this year, I think Harden has been a different player, and I think a lot of it has to do with that man right there, Mike D'Antoni. I think he sort of changed the way Harden plays now. I think he's done so much for Houston. It's such a different team than they were last year. Like they've hit 51 points, right?
51 wins.
Exactly. Yeah, wins. Sorry. And I think a big thing, a big part of that has to be Mike D'Antoni. So to me, that's who's gonna win it. But I think you've all got such good candidates here that it's hard to call.
So
I've got Mike D'Antoni though.
So the other two big ones that everyone's been talking about is Eric Spoelstra with a team that was gutted from a lot of players going to the Cavs and other places. It just happens in the basketball world. He's still able to consistently get wins, compete in games. Coaches do not want to play against him. People used to write very poor articles about his lack of coaching when LeBron was there, but it's a player control thing. I think Eric Spoelstra's done a phenomenal job with the players he has. Hassan Whiteside, Goran Dragic finally playing in form. They had a wonderful time. And lastly, Brad Stevens of Boston Celtics. Other coaches, other organizations have said, how does Boston keep winning? How does Boston keep winning with the smallest guys on the court, so many guards playing through, not as much experience as other teams have, but they've been able to win consistently night in, night out with commitment, players playing with their hearts, and now they're at 48 wins, approaching 50 with 7 games left. Very, very big congrats to Brad Stevens, all 3 of those coaches.
So now, I mean, for MVP, obviously, there's certain metrics like who scores the most points, assists, and things like that to decide who gets it. For the coach, is there any like evaluation process, or how do people start to decide?
So these are all nominated positions by players, coaches, execs, and specific media members as well. The fans get a vote into this as well. Right now, if you go on Real GM, a big Bible for a lot of people. Right now, most people have Mike D'Antoni winning, with Eric Spoelstra coming in second, and then Brad Stevens. Obviously, people start giving shout-outs to Greg Popovich.
Popovich.
Popovich, for some reason, he is not ever, he doesn't win the award that often, but his team consistently wins, consistently is in the playoffs, has 50 wins. Probably hands down one of my favorite coaches, one of the favorite teams to watch. They play beautiful basketball. Absolutely beautiful basketball. If Ray Allen didn't hit that 3, another championship. The year before, they were able to take it. Really interesting to see what Greg does this year through the playoffs and their matchups, but they did a phenomenal job. These are the top 3 awards. Really big intrigue into what the other awards they're going to announce, hopefully prior to the award ceremony that's going to happen in June for the NBA. But this is where it looks.
Anything else? You guys have any other topics?
Lastly, final 2. We discussed this once more. We're going to put it on the board. Who do you have in NCAA finals?
So I've got Gonzaga, and I think I'm going to. It's a hard one, but I think I'm going to take UNC.
UNC. So we're going to have a 1 versus 1 seed most likely, as well as teams are predicting. Gonzaga with the right matchup against South Carolina, hopefully, and UNC looking dominant, playing defense well, but that coach, Roy Williams, has definitely done his damn work, and he has done a phenomenal job one more time. Wonderful team to watch basketball, wonderful players on that team. Hopefully we can see him compete and make it interesting this weekend, the last final 4 games, semifinals before the finals, and best luck to all teams playing. Yep. Whether you're Oregon, South Carolina, North Carolina, or Gonzaga, best luck to all of them.
Where are the finals?
Finals are down in Phoenix.
Phoenix,
Arizona. If you can take a short flight or trip, go down to Phoenix.
Hey, definitely look into that. All right, well, any other closing statements? Any big games coming up tonight people should watch out for? I mean, I know last night it was Golden State and Spurs.
I don't even know who's playing tonight.
So, games tonight.
Anything relevant to like the playoff race? Or?
Of course. So we got a few games that are relevant to the playoff race. Last night, the biggest one was obviously Portland being able to beat Denver for that 8th spot. You have the Cavs versus Chicago. Chicago creeping in on that 9th spot. The Cavs slipping right now, which really plays them to that 1st seed slot. So that's an interesting game. And lastly, you have the Rockets against Portland. This may or may not be a matchup later on as you see Portland in that 8th seed. But it's definitely a good game to watch. Yusuf Nurkic on the rise, playing well. It hopefully shows some shape and organization for the team pushing for the playoffs. So that's a big game tonight. But more importantly, later this week, as in tomorrow night and Friday, you have the Pacers and Raptors playing. Obviously here at home and then in Toronto. Pacers still looking to stay in that spot. You have... and lastly, I think no other games really matter to me tomorrow after that. Like, you have the Spurs, OKC. I hope they see the Spurs take that readily. You have Jazz and Washington. And the Jazz here in cross conference. You have Washington playing. Very big game. And lastly, the last game of Friday night, which is probably where I'm going to stay up for, is the 10:30 matchup between Houston and Golden State. They may not see each other first round of the playoffs, but hell, we want to see them play and play well. Golden State recently able to beat the Spurs, beat a few other good teams. Hopefully see that continue on and get up to a couple more wins. Right now sitting at 61.
Well, definitely a lot of ground covered. Glad you guys made some picks and definitely trust your judgment. So
thank you to BetShare and our other sponsors, Woodbine and iBoost, for hosting us here today, live on BetShare.
Great stuff.
Shout out to Facebook and all the fans that wrote in. If you have any other questions prior to today's our next podcast, please reach out. It's at BetShare on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Take it easy.